I know a 6-letter word that probably most of us don't like, and it's this: change. And I don't mean the kind that jingles in your pocket either. Change is difficult for all of us, isn't it? We get used to patterns, we get used to routines, and to try and to establish new ones can be difficult. We've had a lot of that in the last few months with the COVID-19 coming in, and our normal routines of going to the store, going here, there, or everywhere suddenly altered in a matter of a few days. We couldn't go into the store like we once did, or doctor's appointments were canceled. We were at the dentist the other day with my son, and I had to wear a mask going into the dentist office. You had to get your temperature checked, and you had to walk out a different door. Change. I remember some significant change when I was first married, and my wife moved up here to my apartment and started, as she was unpacking, reorganizing my dishes and my cupboards. No, but that was a rough spell for a moment, overcoming that. And that was something I personally had to overcome, as we two were melded together into one unit, recognizing she was going to be the one doing most of the cooking, and things needed to be in her fashion and the way that she did them. And so change is hard. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes it takes months, sometimes it's just a downright struggle. I remember when there was some construction going on here at town, I had to reorganize my route into how to get to the building, and yet if I wasn't purposefully thinking about that trip in the morning as I came in, I found myself traveling down that route once again and having to recorrect it as I was coming. Learning to follow Jesus, if you will, often or can feel the same way. We're not who we once were. Our old lives are gone, but it takes time. Sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's years to replace those old patterns, with new ones. Paul says this in Colossians chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. It says, "Therefore, if you have been raised with Christ, keep seeking the things above, where Christ is, seated at the right hand of God." Verse 2, "Keep thinking about things above, not things on earth. For you have died." Notice that you have died. "And your life is hidden with whom? With Christ in God. When Christ, who is your life, appears, then you too will be revealed in glory with him." Verse 5, "So put to death whatever in your nature belongs to the earth." Like us, the Colossians were learning to live a whole new way of life. But Paul doesn't give them some sort of 12-step program, or here's the top 10 things you need to do. He says, who do you belong to? Live accordingly. He says, you belong to Christ, you are adopted, you are sons and daughters of him, you have been folded into the family. Christ is our identity. Live accordingly. And if we take the time, a few moments each day, to purposefully think through our actions, boy, there's some things that we need to change, isn't there? I know as I live my life, there's various things that I come across, thoughts that I think, actions that I think or do, words that I say, and I'm like, you know what, that's not Christ-like. I need to change that. And sometimes it takes time, but it's purposeful. What? Purposeful in doing it, in implementing those changes. Purposeful in yielding ourselves to the Spirit's work in our life. Purposeful in establishing those relationships within the church with brothers and sisters in Christ who can hold us accountable and who can help mold and shape us, that God uses as his instruments to do that, so that we might become greater imitators of Christ himself. Is why I was reading something this week, and one person appropriately said, if you're a runner, you run. If you're a dancer, you dance. And when you are God's, you pursue what? God's things. You pursue him. And so as we live this life, let's pursue him, right? Let's pursue the things of Christ. Let's pursue and run with endurance this race that is before us. The goal is heaven. The goal is him. The goal is being imitators of him. Let's do that. Let's learn to see things through Jesus' perspective. See every facet of our lives, the way that we think, the words that we speak, the actions that we perform. see them through Jesus' eyes. Are these things that Christ would do? Now, I don't want to say it just to put on a facade in who we are, but the Bible focuses a lot on obedience. It does. It shows our love for God. And if we say we truly love God, then how do we show it? How does it come forth? And ultimately, the things that do come forth reveal what? Our heart. And perhaps there's some things that we need to say, God, you know what? I surrender this to you. I am yielded to you. Do your work within me. That my mind might be set upon you, that I might be following in passionate pursuit after you. You know, we talk about the gospel. The gospel is change. Yes, it is meant for those who have not yet professed faith in him, calling them, you know what, this is your sin. It has separated you from God. And here's the avenue back. Christ himself provided it. But the gospel is also for believers because it reminds us what? Of what has been done already. It reminds us, yes, of who we are. It reminds us of that power, yes, that once changed us is still working yet within us, continuing to mold and shape us day by day into the image of Christ. And we need to yield to the Spirit in his work. And so let's learn to see the world as Jesus sees it. May our actions mirror his. May our priorities mirror his. May we love the way he does. And as we purpose to do that, and as we yield to the Spirit's work on our life, and as we take this book seriously and believe it and implement the things within it, we'll find that we are becoming as he is. What a challenge today, isn't it? Speaks to me as well. Praying for you. Until tomorrow, friends. God bless.